During that short but intense and complex duration between sunrise and sunset, the human mind constantly seeks a sanctuary. This sanctuary is sometimes a concrete house, sometimes a crowded family, but most often, it is absolute knowledge. The rooted in endless conflict between religion, the idea of God, and the scientific understanding of the universe is, in fact, one of the clearest reflections of this search. People frequently come to me with these questions. In the cold amphitheaters of universities, at brightly lit scientific conferences, or even while eating in an ordinary restaurant, they relentlessly ask, "Professor Feynman, you have examined the chaotic and incredible structure of the subatomic world. You won a Nobel Prize. You have decoded the deepest secrets of the universe's mathematical language. Tell us, is there a God? Did someone build this entire system from the beginning? What is the ultimate and immutable truth of the universe?" People expect me to simplify this infinite and complex universe, to explain it to them clearly. They demand that magical formula that proves or disproves with certainty the existence of a bearded figure in the sky, one who watches them, grows angry at their mistakes, and smiles at their good deeds. But why? Because certainty is the warmest blanket that wraps around the human soul. The being we call human believes they cannot survive in this vast and seemingly meaningless cosmic ocean without clinging to an anchor of meaning. They need absolute answers to soothe the horror accompanying existence and to quiet that fear of the bottomless void. However, if you are looking for ways to sleep peacefully at night, I must tell you this: you are in the wrong place. Because science does not promise you that comfort. True science pulls you out from under that false, warm blanket and leaves you alone in the middle of a vast, freezing void that surpasses the intuitions of the human mind. What it offers is completely impartial. It is a gargantuan portrait of a universe entirely indifferent to your individual anxieties, daily life concerns, debts, or social ambitions. When you first see that portrait, your head will spin, and a feeling of insignificance within you will become unbearable. But if you can dare to renounce the illusion of pure certainty, you can walk to the edge of that cliff, look into the bottomless darkness, and say, "I don't know." At that very moment, you will encounter a reality far more impressive, awe-inspiring, and enchanting than any of the myths or holy books ever written by humanity. Let us speak of the concept of beauty. I have a friend who is an artist, and we often engage in deep discussions. He views things through a different lens. However, I frequently find myself in complete philosophical opposition to his perspective. Sometimes we walk together in nature, losing ourselves in the beauty surrounding us. For instance, he will pick up a flower and say, "Look, how beautiful it is." As an artist, I can see the aesthetics, the soul, and the elegance of this flower. But you are a scientist. You pull everything apart. You reduce everything to its atoms and cells to such an extent that, to you, the flower turns into a mechanical, soulless, and lifeless object. Science destroys beauty by dismantling it. To me, this thought seems like a complete fallacy. First and foremost, the surface-level beauty of a flower is apparent to me as well. It is impossible for me not to appreciate the vibrant red of those petals, the graceful curve of its stem, and the pleasant fragrance it emits. However, my perspective does not end there. Scientific knowledge enriches the meaning and allure of the flower. This is because I can dive into the depths of the flower's texture and imagine the details of the cellular structures within its leaves. The complex microscopic events occurring inside, the magnificent mechanism of photosynthesis, come to life in my mind's eye. I can see and understand that fascinating process where photons from the sun are transformed into sugar and life energy within the plant cells. The red hue of the flower is not just a superficial beauty, it is the result of an evolutionary story spanning millions of years, a specific electromagnetic wavelength adapted to attract a particular species of insect. This, in turn, leads me to wonder, are insects truly affected by aesthetics? Why are they drawn to specific light frequencies? From there, I go even deeper, the molecules, the electrons orbiting the carbon nucleus, that chaotic order at the quantum level. In short, beauty is a concept that is not only seen by the eye but also deepened through its meaning. There is an aesthetic to the flower when viewed on the surface, but through science, when you descend to the scale of 1/10th of a millimeter or the nanometer, you see a breathtaking, complex harmony in poetics. Analyzing with a scientific approach, far from diminishing the mystery of the flower, adds a much greater meaning in depth to it. It reveals a massive perspective that my friend fails to perceive. Now, let us attempt to grasp the true scale of the universe. You are currently focused on the routine of daily life, work stress, arguments with neighbors, bills to be paid, and perhaps the aches of a past love. But for a moment, stop and lift your head to look at the sky. We live on this small planet, though it may seem gargantuan to us, in reality, Earth is nothing more than an insignificant speck of dust compared to the magnitude of the universe. Crossing continents might take us days, and oceans may appear bottomless. Yet, Earth is merely a tiny point located in one of the outer spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy. Our Sun within this galaxy is 1,000,000 times larger than the Earth. It is virtually a massive hydrogen and helium furnace, large enough to fit 1,000,000 Earths inside. But even this is only a small fragment of the real story. Our Sun is just one of approximately 100 billion stars in the Milky Way, and many of these stars are thousands of times larger than the Sun, possessing a heat and power far beyond the reaches of human perception. Within the breadth of this galaxy, our solar system resembles only a minuscule grain of dust. However, even the Milky Way is not the ultimate boundary of the universe, it is merely the starting point. In the 1920s, Edwin Hubble, during observations made with the largest telescope of the era, realized that the small, blurry patches in the sky were not actually gas clouds, but other galaxies located outside our own. Today, thanks to modern telescopes, we estimate that there are approximately 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Yes, 2 trillion. Each harbors hundreds of billions of stars, and many of these stars likely possess their own planetary systems. This universal expanse is like a vast ocean stretching across 93 billion light-years. The human brain, due to its evolutionary limits stemming from hunter-gatherer periods, cannot fully perceive this magnitude. The universe has persisted for 13.8 billion years, expanding in changing form. Long before the Earth was even formed, massive stars were being born, consuming their energy for millions of years, and then exploding as supernovas to scatter heavy elements across all 4 corners of the cosmos. Meanwhile, galaxies were colliding, and black holes were swallowing giant star systems. Even when the solar system was just a cloud of gas, the universe was in constant motion for billions of years. Now, let us add a religious perspective to this vast landscape. Traditional religions speak of a supreme being who created this dizzying expanse of the universe. But the strange part is this: why has such a gargantuan structure been tied solely to the simple behaviors of a small primate species living on a single planet? Within complex galaxies spanning billions of light-years, Could God truly be interested in whether a piece of fruit was eaten or whether an individual is circumcised? Could he care about which language his name is mentioned in or what is eaten on specific days? There is a disturbingly massive disproportion between this way of thinking and the magnitude of the universe on a physical scale. When you look at the universe, you see a stage filled with massive stars, galaxies, and countless magnificent discoveries. Yet, in traditional religious stories, this giant stage is described as if it were created for a simple script focusing on the daily behaviors of a small species. While these stories remain, at their core, legends built upon the limited life experiences, fears, and understandings of ancient peoples, science displays the true scale of the universe in all its glory. Whenever people ask me questions about God, there is always a hesitation in my mind. This is because any discussion conducted without clarifying which God we are talking about leads to a confusion of concepts. Throughout history, humanity has fundamentally formed two distinct concepts of God, and we frequently confuse these two in everyday language. This confusion is one of the biggest barriers preventing us from correctly understanding science. The first concept points to the God of physicists or philosophers. This appears before us as a prime mover figure, expressing the meaning of the extraordinary mathematical order in the universe and the origin of the laws of nature. When I examine nature through the eyes of a physicist, I am left in awe by how gravity bends and shapes the fabric of space-time like a cloth, how Maxwell's equations combine electric and magnetic fields in an elegant harmony, or the delicate balance of the strong nuclear forces that hold the atomic nucleus together. These rules are so orderly, aesthetic, and consistent that even science cannot definitively refute the idea that the universe might have been created 13.8 billion years ago by an abstract master of geometry who determined these laws and set the system in motion. It does not even seem possible for an honest scientist to completely dismiss as a hypothesis the existence of such a gargantuan and inconceivable intelligence that defines the synchronized movements of galaxies or the chaotic order within the depths of the atom. However, there is a very critical distinction at this point. The physicist's God is not personal. One does not pray to it, nor do we expect it to fulfill our desires. It neither provides a winning lottery ticket nor heals a disease. This God is an abstract power devoid of emotions and does not concern itself specifically with human beings. The second concept is the understanding of a personal God, the model of God defined in the sacred texts of religions and social traditions. This is a being believed to intervene in the private lives of individuals, thought to guide every moment of their lives, and considered to set rules for everything from what people eat and drink to how they should worship. However, this understanding frequently makes me ponder and sometimes challenges me. For example, it is difficult to make sense of the idea of a God who responds to the prayer of a mother in Ohio for a child to win a football match, yet simultaneously remains indifferent to the desperate cries of thousands of children dying of hunger in another part of the world. When viewed from a scientific perspective, the interest of the creator of such immense realities in such a gargantuan universe in these tiny details of the micro-level human seems quite disproportionate and illogical to me. While there are 2 trillion galaxies and within them countless stars, black holes, and subatomic particles, the idea of such a powerful being concerning itself with the daily troubles of humans appears to be a strange imagination. This situation, in fact, seems to have arisen from ancient societies attempting to perceive the creator of the universe through their own tribal perspectives, attributing similar human characteristics to it. The difference between science and religion consists of more than just differing views on the magnitude of the universe. This distinction is related to a deeper point. the methods of accessing knowledge, namely epistemology. Science adopts an approach based on doubt and experimentation. It is not a body of facts bound by rigid rules, but a dynamic method. In the scientific process, an idea, a hypothesis is proposed, and then various experiments are designed with the aim of refuting this idea. If the experiments do not support the idea, regardless of how impressive or widely accepted it may be, that idea is accepted as false. There is no absolute certainty in the nature of science. Even general relativity or quantum electrodynamics, which are accepted as our most robust theories, are merely models that offer the best explanations based on current data. When new data emerges, these models are abandoned and more compatible ones are developed in their place. Scientists do not feel anxiety when they encounter the unknown. On the contrary, this situation excites them. They turn toward new questions, saying, "We don't know yet, how wonderful. Let's investigate this." In this context, doubt can be defined as the engine of science. Religion, however, sits on an entirely different ground. Its foundation is composed of absolute faith and certainty. Faith considers it a virtue to show a strong belief, often in the absence of evidence or sometimes in spite of it. While certainty is seen as a reward in religion, doubt is evaluated as a negative trait. Asking questions may not be forbidden, but it is accepted that the answers were provided thousands of years ago through sacred texts. This situation causes the human mind to operate in two different and opposing ways. A person cannot approach the same subject with both infinite doubt and absolute certainty. If you begin contemplating a matter by saying, "The answer to this question is already written in the Holy Book," it is impossible for you to adopt a scientific approach. You would merely be defending your existing belief. These methodological differences between scientific inquiry and religious certainty clearly reveal why the two fields cannot achieve full harmony. While science encourages constant renewal and questioning, religion keeps the answers limited to predetermined principles. Beginning with my time on the Manhattan Project in my youth and continuing through the years I spent working on quantum electrodynamics, I have spent a great deal of time in the depths of subatomic particles. I must state clearly that the quantum world possesses a structure that runs entirely contrary to the classical common sense we use in daily life. In fact, I can even say this: if there is someone who claims to truly understand quantum mechanics, they most likely do not understand it at all. In this world, particles exist in a state of superposition. That is, as long as no measurement is performed upon them, they can be in more than one place at the same time. Furthermore, through a concept called entanglement, an interaction can occur between particles located at two opposite ends of the universe at a speed that exceeds the speed of light. Additionally, particles sometimes behave like matter and sometimes like waves. This depends entirely on the context, that is, how they are measured. Now, consider this: if I had approached this complex picture with a rigid religious perspective and remained strictly bound to the prehistoric assumption that the universe must be compatible with human logic because we were created in the image of God, I would have been unable to make any progress in the field of quantum physics. Quantum physics teaches us that nature is under no obligation whatsoever to conform to human expectations or the norms we find logical. Nature is however it functions, and we can only accept it as it is. If experiments show that a particle passes through two different places at the same time, no matter how irrational this may seem, we must accept this reality and construct our theories accordingly. Religion, on the other hand, is generally an effort to adapt nature to human-centered stories. Ideas such as the universe being designed for human choices or the stars existing for the purpose of guiding humans are products of this understanding. But a scientist realizes that nature is independent of themselves and functions of its own accord. The goal of science is to follow the data, no matter how strange or disturbing the encountered reality may be. Religion, on the other hand, often seeks to provide a false certainty in the face of this ambiguity. However, science sets aside this need for certainty and remains faithful only to observed facts in order to unravel the secrets of nature. People often suggest that moral and ethical values can only be sustained through religion. Relying on superficial arguments such as, if God does not exist, everything is permitted, they propose that behaviors like loving one's neighbor, refraining from theft, or helping others are only possible through the fear of God or the threat of hell. Indeed, in the Western world, morality has long been presented alongside this religious framework. However, when viewed from a scientific perspective, the foundation upon which morality rests is much deeper and more universal. We humans are social beings, and the elements that make our communal life possible have been shaped through the evolutionary process. Values such as empathy, compassion, and justice are biological and social strategies developed by our species during a struggle for survival spanning millions of years. Our ability to share another's pain and the advantages brought by cooperation within a group are, in fact, products of natural processes. Therefore, we do not need a cosmic overseer watching us from the sky and threatening us with punishment to lead a moral life. Furthermore, is the attitude of someone who does good only out of the fear of hell truly moral, or is it merely a simple calculation of self-interest? A scientific approach bases morality not on fear or punishment, but on logic, empathy, and understanding the vulnerability of the human species. Only when we begin to grasp our place in the universe, when we realize that we are short-lived beings on a speck of dust among trillions of galaxies, does our responsibility and connection to one another gain a much deeper meaning. Knowing the fact that we are derived from the dust of stars carries not only our physical existence but also our ethical values to a universal common denominator. Science emphasizes that each of us is actually made of stardust. Although this expression is used with a romantic and poetic approach in popular culture, it is one of the most striking and concrete facts put forward by modern astrophysics. Do not perceive this as a metaphor, we are speaking of a physical truth here. Elements such as the iron atoms carried by the blood in your body, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen filling your lungs, and carbon, the building block of life. None of these originated on Earth, nor did they suddenly appear after the Earth was formed. In the early stages of the universe, immediately following the Big Bang, there was only hydrogen and a small amount of helium. We are talking about a period when heavy elements had not yet been created. So, how was a world full of these elements, and consequently us, reached? The answer to this question lies within the stars, the gargantuan nuclear furnaces in the sky. Billions of years ago, when our solar system was nothing more than a cloud of dust, stars of immense magnitude were formed. These stars, through the gravitational force within them, crashed atoms into each other, transforming them into heavier elements. As hydrogen turned into helium, helium into carbon, and carbon into iron, the process continued. At the end of their life cycles, the stars exploded as supernovas, and that massive explosion scattered the precious elements, produced inside those giant stars over billions of years, into the universe. Over time, these dust clouds merged to form our solar system, our planet, and ultimately, us. This knowledge offers a profound understanding of man's place in the universe that goes beyond conventional spiritual approaches. We are not some accidental error of this great cosmos or a piece added from the outside. We are the universe itself. We are a part of it, created from its essence, trying to understand and perceive itself. This awareness invites us to rethink the meaning of life and moral values. Instead of reducing the bonds between humans solely to a biological level, we can see them as a connection coming from the depths of time and on a galactic scale. When you look at another human being, you are actually looking at a part of yourself that was formed in the depths of the same star billions of years ago. Such a perspective transcends fear-based understandings of morality, revealing a much purer and deeper empathy. Let us attempt to understand the depth of time. The universe has been expanding for 13.8 billion years, undergoing a constant transformation. If we were to compress this incredible duration into a single calendar year, the entirety of human history would represent an interval so brief that it would fit only within the final day of the year, even within the last few minutes and seconds. Long before the Earth even existed, for billions of years, galaxies were colliding and stars were being born and dying. Black holes were pulling entire systems into themselves, and the universe, completely unaware of our existence, continued its own gargantuan and chaotic dance. It is precisely here that the powerful emotional debate between science and religion emerges. Religion views us as the lead role in this endless theater and imposes the idea that everything was created for us. Science, however, presents us with a harsher but equally noble truth. We are but momentary guests on this massive stage. We are transient beings with consciousness. This situation should not be seen as a catastrophe. On the contrary, it is an awareness that immeasurably increases the value of our existence. If everything had been created solely for us, we would simply be actors in a script. However, having gained consciousness in this indifferent and limitless universe makes us unique. Science reveals not only our physical structure but also the fascinating complexity of our brain. The brain is not merely a biological computing device, it is a miracle that processes data coming from the universe, gives it meaning, and is capable of making ethical decisions. It is through this organ that we can grasp the vastness of the universe, imagine the past, and design the future. Amidst the harsh laws of the universe, we possess the freedom to add meaning to our existence. Science does not offer us a ready-made package of moral rules. However, it shows us morality, solidarity, and cooperation as the most sublime strategies for the survival of humanity. Perhaps we occupy a space only as large as a tiny speck of dust in the universe, but within that speck of dust, we carry a consciousness capable of understanding an entire universe. Why are people so dependent on certainty? Why does saying, "I don't know," feel so difficult and frightening? In fact, the fundamental reason for this is that ignorance is perceived like a dark room. People try to find a kind of false peace by filling this darkness with their own imaginations, fears, and ancient beliefs. Religion casts a fake light into that dark room. It argues that it provides an answer for everything and claims to offer clarity. Yet, the light it offers is nothing more than an illusion. A scientist, however, is not afraid to step into this dark room. The only tool in their hand is doubt, which is like a small candle. They know they cannot illuminate the room entirely, but thanks to their candle, they reveal every small detail they see as a part of reality. Moving beyond the need for certainty is the highest potential the human mind can reach. Asking questions, realizing that every answer gives birth to an even greater question, and accepting that knowledge will never be exhausted. This is the pinnacle of intellectual honesty. On the other hand, the ready-made answers provided by religious dogmas push the human mind into laziness. Science, on the contrary, requires constant questioning, critical thinking, and being open to learning new things. Saying, "I don't know," is not actually a defeat, quite the opposite, it is the first step of a discovery. Accepting this magnitude of ignorance and seeing the opportunities hidden within it offers a far more satisfying experience than the myths, legends, or sacred texts invented by humanity. Because scientific facts are observable, testable, and most importantly, sincere. The idea of a personal and human-focused God remains quite insufficient and childish in the face of the gargantuan dimensions and complexity of the universe. However, the admiration felt toward the unchanging mathematical rules of nature, the unique order of the universe, and its chaotic beauty is much deeper than any religious emotion and creates a sense of profound, heartfelt devotion. In conclusion, science and religion attempt to interpret reality in different ways. While science relies on evidence, religion adopts a language bound by faith. Religion offers definite answers and brings an end to questioning, whereas science constantly asks questions and never terminates the journey of discovery. We are like small vessels in a vast and indifferent cosmic sea, without a fixed course but possessing the capacity to explore. The idea of God may remain an object of mathematical interest as the origin of the universe or the source of natural laws. However, a personal God figure, one who shapes our everyday, our moral decisions, and our fears, loses its meaning within this majestic portrait of the universe illuminated by science. Turn your gaze to the horizon. Realize the existence of trillions of galaxies, supernovas light years away, and that invisible dance continuing within the atom. The time has come to give meaning to your own life, to determine your own ethical values, and to appreciate the wonders of the universe with a mind liberated from all dogmas. Under the great responsibility that comes with being created from stardust, we must protect one another and nature during this brief journey. Relinquish the pursuit of certainty, surrender to the enchantment of the unknown, and continue to shine with curiosity in this limitless silence. For we are a part of the universe's effort to understand itself. And for these very reasons, our existence is the most sacred reality we can ever imagine.
You have reached the end of this file. Thank you for your time. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, consider joining the protocol by subscribing to the channel, and support our data feed by hitting the like button. We look forward to your theories and questions in the comments section below. Until the next leak, keep searching beyond the visible.